So very excited to introduce Lynn. So Lynn was one of our first specialists on Connectable Life. She is a registered counsellor. She's amazing. Her gift is people. All she wants to do is encourage, build up, strengthen, and help people grow into who they need to be. She has helped me so much in my life, and just through our friendship that we've created over this period, as well as my children. So I'm very grateful to Lynn. And Lynn is also a remedial specialist. She does something called phonographics in a remedial capacity, and she has recently become a tomatis instructor.
Sound therapist.
Yeah, a sound therapist. So she is just incredible. So I can't actually praise Lynn enough. Thank you, Lynn.
Thank you, Stace. Thank you, everybody. It's always an honor to be able to speak to people, share some tools and skills that I love to impart. Because it's not just about, is that loud enough? It's not just about,
A little bit louder.
I'm sorry. I'm also post-COVID, so my body is not feeling as strong as it normally is. So I think for me, the goal of this morning is to also do an activation that you can take home and just continue growing in your awareness of how to apply these tools. As Stacey said, I am a registered counsellor, so I have started my journey counselling, working with children with special needs, encouraging moms, working in marriage counselling, church context. So I've got a huge variety of working in different contexts. But every time I find that the goal is to empower and to educate people and help them understand what is my body going through right now? How is my brain responding to this? What am I feeling in this moment? And so the topic that I'm going to be chatting about is listening and lenses. So
Listening and
lenses.
lenses.
Lenses we wear in life. Sometimes we know about it, sometimes we don't. And those impact how we listen. Are we listening to ourselves? Are we listening to people around us? Are we listening to our spouse, our friends, our children? So it's all going to come together in an activation that I'm going to do with you. And I'm hoping that it's going to empower you in your relationships. So if we go back to how our morning started, and I loved Stacey's vulnerability. Please don't ever apologize for being emotional about that kind of thing. But that is the problem with society. I had a trigger because I had a memory of my brother that I loved. And what does society tell you? Don't cry. Don't feel. You have to be strong. And so a moment of emotion is seen as a weakness. But the reality is it takes courage and strength to recognize that moment. And so those are the lenses that we're going to challenge today. Those are the listening lenses that we're going to challenge and say, well, what message does that send to everybody else around me? That I have to be strong all the time because it's seen as a weakness. And so my journey with all clients is to say to them, counseling is for the courageous, because the reality, part of the journey is that you're standing in front of a mirror and it takes courage to look at that reflection and acknowledge the fullness of what that reflection looks like. And some days are easier and some days are incredibly painful. But it's those that keep committing and keep coming back in spite of all the triggers that are going on. Because as you journey, you start to recognize what your capacity is on certain days, what your capacity is with different people, what your strength is. And you know, the most freeing moment is recognizing your weakness and saying, oh, I actually don't have to do this. You know, we live expectations. We live what we've been told we should do, what is right, what is wrong. And so it's all about that dynamic of coming to recognize, well, I'm not comfortable, especially with COVID. Hasn't there been such a debate on, oh, well, they won't do that because they're scared. Well, maybe they're scared because they've lost a loved one. So there's this criticism and there's this judgment that's going on all the time on a very emotive topic, and on a topic that we have not much control over. We can control who we engage with. So it's all about, for me, it's taking a step back and saying, what is triggering me? What am I listening to? What am I expecting of other people to fill in me? Am I giving grace where I need to give grace? So part of my activation is to start talking about what are the lenses we wear. So we grow up as children, we have experiences, some positive, some negative, some things we can't control. As children, most things you can't really control. But there's this tenacity that most children have to keep going and to keep rising above things. They may build coping mechanisms that aren't too positive or helpful, but there is this ability to keep rising through all the waves, and then we get to adulthood. And if we don't have enough time to process and assimilate those things into a healthy coping strategy or a mechanism that is actually a healthy one, we start to unravel. And those are the moments where you find you triggered. You suddenly go from being frightened to angry. What is anger? Why do I feel out of control here? Because I believe that I can control my immediate environment. So you start to challenge those thought processes, and if we're not, we often end up having a breakdown. So I brought some glasses along. They all represent different, they don't all belong to me, number one. So these are my trendy 8-year-old's glasses. These are dark glasses, which we had to choose for Kruger Park. So when I see these sunglasses, I smile because they're bright yellow on the side, and that is all about my 8-year-old Nathan. And yeah, I'm going to put them on. I don't know if they suit me, but they are cool. And for me, they are about fun. And if you meet my Nathan, he is super cool. He started the trend of socks pulled up. You know, that is a trend now. He started it before anybody else would do it. I'd take photos of him. He'd be walking through shopping centres, bright red socks and white tackies on. And the whole shopping centre would stop and smile. But now it's a thing. So these belong to my cool 8-year-old. And so when I see these, I smile because he is a trendsetter. He is quite fearless. He is the child that challenges me the most in myself, because that's what parenting is. We are triggered as we raise our children, and we have to keep being aware of what their responses are doing in me, because what do I need to heal in? What do I need to let go of? And how can I help him as he becomes who he is? And then this is also similar to holiday and fun. I love the bush. That's my resting time. No cell phone reception, just quiet and peaceful, not knowing what's around the corner. Life slows down, and it's real connection time for our family. The only thing about these is they're a little bit dark, so if I stayed wearing dark glasses, everything that I look at is filtered through a slightly darker lens. But the problem with lenses is we become so used to everything being darkened, we don't always challenge it. So a lens is something that's like an automatic response to a situation. So if I were to take these off, they're a little bit tight, but you know what? We tolerate a lot of pain that we shouldn't tolerate in our lives. We tolerate a lot of unhealthy interaction that we shouldn't tolerate. But if we wear it long enough, it kind of feels normal. Very good. Then I got to the age where everybody tells you in your 40s you need glasses. I laughed. The optometrist said to me, "Have you changed the font on your phone?" I said, "No." But anyway, I figured out it's not actually magnification I needed, it's for astigmatism. So I was very excited. I got my glasses, and then shock and horror, everybody down there is blurry. So, but this is for here, it's for close reading. But imagine if I allowed myself to keep walking where everything is blue, but I can only stay focused here. I'm going to start tripping over things. But what in my life am I allowing to stay blue that keeps tripping me up? That I'm not listening to the responses in my body. I'm not watching how my behavior, my responses and my words are impacting people around me and myself. So the need is to then challenge the lens. What is going on? you tracking with me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so then my comfortable dark glasses. My husband bought these for me for Christmas. I love them. They're light, comfortable, also slightly darker. They don't cut out as much. They're not as dark as my previous pair. And everything looks clear. Sorry, not loud enough. Everything's clear, but I can't wear dark glasses permanently in the house. So it's like, what do I need to do? As my environment changes, my needs change. My children's needs change. My husband's needs change. People around me. We have to adapt all the time. And if we are willing to listen to what's going on in our body and with those around us, we learn to adapt. So if you were to wear a pair of glasses that can adapt well in any environment, do you know what transition lenses are? These are my husband's riding glasses. So they're clear now. But the moment I step into the light, change, they get darker. So as I move through different environments, my lenses are adapting to where I am. And that's my encouragement to everybody, is that are you allowing your lenses to be challenged for every situation that you are journeying through? So when you don't have an answer, I know everybody believes that they are experts now, not all, but a lot of people believe they are experts on COVID, on mental health, on parenting, on marriage and family. But if I were to ask you, if you thought about each person's family environment, the environment you grew up in, yours feels normal. And what do? We put our lenses of how I grew up. And I tell my friend who's struggling in one area, that is rubbish. What are you doing? What are you telling your friend? You are judging their journey from your lenses. And your lenses could be scratched. They could be marked and they could be dark. So those lenses impact how we listen. Now, if you do a study on listening in the ear and the brain and all the connections, Stacey shared that I had just qualified as a tomatoes therapist. Shock to my brain to be used in that way again. Completely scientific. I had to study the internal workings of the ear and the muscles and the bones and all the neural connections. And I had a month to do it. But what I love about this process, the tomatoes music and sound therapy was formulated by Alfred Tomatis in the 1950s. And he was an ENT, but he also had a master's in music. And he recognized the importance of music in the brain healing. So we can tap 5 areas: attention, anxiety and depression, learning challenges, auditory processing, sensory sensitivity, so sensory processing, and all through high frequency bone conduction. The right length of time for the right, so many hours a day, over 14 days, so many intensives, we can rewire neural pathways in the brain, which is phenomenal. But the whole thing about tomatoes is listening is the ability to use one's ear in an attentive manner for the purpose of learning and communicating in a way which is not emotionally disturbing. So if you think about how your lenses are functioning, are they impacting your ability to listen in a way that is not emotionally disturbing? And how does that impact relationships around you? Another thing that tomatoes taught me is that listening is to hearing what aiming is to sight. Now, if we are not aiming for a target, how can we not listen intently without filtering all the time what I think the person should say? And that is why people need therapy. That is why a lot of people are stressed and anxious and depressed, because they're being told all the time what is wrong, and no, you shouldn't feel that way, or no, you mustn't do that. Could I encourage you to stop and err on the side of caution and listen to what your friend is saying, because maybe their dream makes no sense to you. Maybe you cannot see that way. You have not lived their journey. And the whole thing is, our journey is so unique to who we are. We can't compare ourselves. We can encourage and champion each other. We may say, I don't know how you're going to do that, but let's just partner. Let's chat about it. Tell me about it. Don't tell them not to do it, unless they're obviously trying to harm themselves. But this is just as a general awareness for you. How are your lenses impacting your ability to listen when people just need to be affirmed and encouraged at a time where we do not see kindness anymore? We just need kindness. What does kindness look like? And so my encouragement to you is that as you listen to your children, are you hearing what they're saying? Because it's not about hearing. It's about listening to what is the underlying message. Are they struggling? Are they lacking confidence? Are they unsure? And how is your response encouraging and calling out their strengths and celebrating who they are without you thinking, well, I wouldn't do that, so you shouldn't do that? Well, then you've lost the whole point. And so as you journey and as we talk about mental health, for me the biggest start is to become aware. What are my triggers? Who is a safe inner circle for me to process with? And who are those that I smile and wave at? And then I learn that's where they're at. That is all that they can cope with. And that's okay. I can be kind to them. I can be friendly to them. But they don't come into my inner circle. So as we finish off and just think about those things. If you were to sit right now and close your eyes, because we're going to focus a little bit on what makes you unique. So just close your eyes and just become aware of what can you hear? What can you smell? What do you feel? Do you feel the warmth of the sun? Do you feel the cool breeze? Do you feel uncomfortable? Does this feel stretching to you? Does this trigger an emotion? Does it trigger a memory? A safe feeling? An uncomfortable feeling? And just sit with that little bit of understanding of where you are right now. What are you telling yourself? Are you able to be with yourself in this moment, or are you already thinking ahead? So as you sit and become aware of the sensory messages that are going around in your body, and as you're being triggered, is there just something that you are reminded of that maybe you want to give a little bit of attention to heal in? To celebrate what makes you uniquely you as part of your journey. And start to listen to what your body is telling you. Have you been running on empty? What do you need to do to feed yourself so that you have capacity? So post-COVID, post-looting and rioting, post-flooding, I've not had so many people tell me that this is just too much for them now. So what can you do? Are you listening to your body saying, I need to get help, or I need to be kind to myself? I need to make time to heal. I need to grieve the loss. I need to grieve the challenge of adjusting to life all the time with uncertainty. So if I can encourage you, take time every day to listen properly to yourself, to your body. We have triggers and things going on all the time, but we've been taught to push through them because that's what growing up is. but a lot of that is unhealthy mechanisms. It's not building capacity, and it's not building a lifestyle that is sustainable. And then challenge the lenses that you are judging yourself and everybody else through. And maybe start to shift them a bit. And allow yourself to be fully who you are. We don't want to be in a world where we all look the same. We don't want to be in a world where we all talk the same. There'd be no variety. There'd be no one to challenge us. We'd almost be like robots. So if we know we're not meant to be robots, let's celebrate our unique journey and just celebrate each other in your uniqueness. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Thank you so much. I've obviously had the privilege of listening to Lynn speak a lot now, and I always walk away. It's funny that your topic today is listening, because I always walk away feeling like I've been heard, yet I haven't said a word. So you really have such a special gift of getting into people's hearts and making us feel safe, and I think that's fantastic. Something that actually we've been doing, as we mentioned, these motivational Mondays on a Monday, and Lynn was with us for one of them, and something she said has kind of been replaying in my head, and I think it sort of resonates with today as well. And she said that if you've got a reoccurring rash, scab, sore, something physical on your body that either doesn't go away or keeps coming back, we do not ignore it. And what if we started wearing our thoughts, feelings, emotions, and mental health on our bodies like these scabs? Maybe it's now a scar. You can even remove scars these days. But what if we started seeing those things on our bodies? We wouldn't ignore it. So why do we choose to do that when it comes to our mental health? And maybe the small act or change or takeaway from Lynn's talk is that we start seeing these triggers as physical things on our bodies, and that actually force us to look at them, stop, acknowledge, create that awareness, and obviously awareness is the catalyst for change. So thank you so much, Lynn. It's always really, really fantastic to have you.
Thank you so much.
And we are going to move straight on to Kirsten, if that's okay, because I was looking at my watch, and